On this episode of The View from Jamestown, the team is back from EPCA as well as some other recent travel. We recap our time in Vienna for the EPCA with European business partners and colleagues. We are forecasting and updating what's happening here in Q4 as well as early forecasts for next year, what's to come for Q1 and more, as well as a conversation with Leschaco on the global freight market, what's happening around the world, and their thoughts for the market for 2024. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 98. This is the October 2023 edition, and we have a partial team here this morning. Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez to my right, Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg, and TCC President Rob Roach. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Benny.
Good morning, Benny.
Creeping up on the 100th.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Getting there. Can't believe it.
Slowly but surely. It's crazy that it's 98. It's a big number.
That's a big number. And that doesn't include all the sort of separate ones you do.
Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of segments and inserts, and like we had Datacore last month. That was technically part of 97 or 96. So we've
Oh, so you include it with the particular month?
Yeah, like as a preview for this episode, we'll have Leschaco come on. So we recorded the Leschaco segment, but it'll technically be one episode, even though it's kind of two recordings. So we've
So this is the 98th of this particular group's podcast.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Crazy. It is mid-October. It's starting to feel like fall here. We are very much on the end of summer, it seems like. How you guys all doing?
Very good.
Very good. Yeah.
Feeling hopeful. Very good.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Good. Nicole?
Yep, same. I mean, I think, as we're going into the cooler weather, I mean, I'm obviously a fan of that, but hopeful. And, it's been nice. I think a lot of us have been out and traveling lately, and, meeting schedules have been filling up. So It's been great. It's been great. That's
a good point. We have all been kind of running around, getting back to post-summer travel season, I guess. I know you were just at the Vinyltec, and we haven't really talked about it much, but how was Vinyltec last week?
It was great. It was very well attended. I think they had over 200 plus attendees, a lot of technical folks and R&D folks, which was interesting to see kind of the take that they are looking on ways to not only build in sustainability into their formulations and products that they're, evaluating, but also from a cost standpoint and kind of, that what we've been talking about the last couple of months, is it feasible or is it just something more like to talk about being sustainable versus actually being able to implement it? So I thought that was an interesting takeaway from that.
It's a good point. I feel like we collectively spend a lot of time talking with purchasing folks and supply chain folks about their needs and how much product they're going to need and what their goals are in terms of cost cutting and all that good stuff. But I'm sure it's interesting talking more to like R&D and technical folks because they probably have a whole different suite of metrics, whether it's sustainability or just new products in general. It's probably an interesting group of folks to talk to in times like these.
It sure was. I mean, a lot of it was obviously way over my head because I'm not a chemist by nature in any sense of the word. But no, yeah, it was interesting to be surrounded by that many like-minded individuals on that front. So yeah, curious to see how the next couple of months and
I'm actually surprised to hear that there was a technical focus. I mean, it's sort of a shift because it's been genericized so much.
Yeah.
Vinyl, like you look at every formula because of mergers and acquisitions and this, that, and the other thing and cost cutting and all that. Like the formulas are so generic and not good either. So it's good to hear, that there's a focus on technical and getting an improved product would be sustainable,
Exactly. And
that would be good.
That was a lot of what, they were saying is, how can we improve? We don't want to just drop something in that already exists. How can we improve? And so, I think it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up.
Well, it's a good point. That's 200 plus people is more than I would have guessed would have been there and more than I remember going in the past. So that is interesting.
Yep.
We do that Compounders Conference in December as well. And I've already had 2 or 3 customers that I've sold for a long time that are asking about it, that are planning on going, that haven't in the past. So more on the technical side, people that have been taking samples from us and looking at stuff, and now they're going to these conferences to listen to presentations and get info on stuff. So it's definitely a trend.
Is that Austin or?
Austin, yeah.
Austin.
Yeah.
December for that.
December.
Yep.
Better than December in DC.
Yeah.
DC in
sure.
December.
100%. 100%. Are you going to that, by the way?
I think so, yeah.
Because Ben will still be there, right? Ben's down there.
Yes, he's in Austin, so
yeah.
Yeah, my son Ben. Yeah, so get to see him too.
I've never been. I'm excited. It's supposed to be a cool city.
It is a cool city. Yeah. And it's not far from San Antonio. It's
Yeah.
right up the road, really.
Yeah.
A hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah. Hour and a half,
Yep.
which is close. And
Texas.
Texas.
different world here in Rhode Island. 15 minutes, it might as well be an hour, So, but
I saw something when we were in Europe. It was the state of Texas superimposed on different parts of Europe, and it's like you can get to 12 countries, and some like depending where you put Texas, you can get to you can touch 12 different country borders in Europe compared to the
it's
size
a
of
huge
Texas.
state. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But speaking of travel, I know it feels like a while ago now, but we're back from the EPCA as well in Vienna. My first EPCA experience, which was awesome. And I know you're a EPCA veteran, but how was the EPCA for you?
It was weird because it was in late September. Usually it's early October. Vienna was, a great host city. You know what I mean? You didn't even feel the impact of thousands of people descending upon it. We had no problem getting reservations for lunch and dinner and hotel and everything. So it is a great host city. And I guess next year is Berlin. So, late September, beautiful. Beautiful weather we had. It's interesting because we were over there and it was raining the whole time.
Yeah.
Back here.
Yep.
Everybody was WhatsApping and texting and emailing about the weather back here was so bad, but gorgeous weather in Vienna. And, there was a tempered optimism. I think it would be the best way to describe it. They've seen a little bit of an uptick in September, and in that at that time that was welcomed, because it's been tough over there. So right now Europe is having a hard time, as we all know. And but September seemed to bring some light to the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting being over there and being American. I'm used to being at the AFPM where everyone's American, and you're very interested to talk to the Asian folks that come in and European folks that come in to get their perspectives on things. And it was weird being on the other side of that. Everyone's interested to talk to us Americans, both to see how we're doing. And I think it's kind of unanimous that the U.S. is doing the best of most regions. So there's a lot of interest in us, maybe not me and you per se, but America as a whole. On
Hasn't always been that way.
Yeah.
It's been highly, highly focused on China, and before that, even at times a European with a strong euro and things like that. It's, we haven't always been the most popular region to participate in, but we are right now. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting, you talk about what's to come for the winter and then next year. The U.S., I think, is poised to be a little bit better. A lot of concerns in Europe with what energy prices do, what happens with this Ukraine and Russia war, and then now with what's going on with Israel. There's a lot of question marks on that side of the world for the winter time.
There is, and we haven't really seen the full extent of what's going to happen yet. And but as far as the U.S. goes, we're in a retail season. Obviously, my Amazon charges are coming through from already, and the pumpkins are out. And
I saw them this morning. I stopped and I said, "Oh my gosh, I love the fall."
Yeah, my wife's been decorating for Halloween, and the usually the fourth quarter is good for retail, obviously for obvious reasons, and there's no holdup right now except for the Panama Canal has to be light loaded, but everything's coming into LA, on time, all the plastic toys and everything. But, and it's interesting here in the US. The actual amount of people that are shifting and now stocking toys, local, small, you're in that age group with your child now, Javi, that you can actually find toys. Toys R Us went out of business. You couldn't find toys for a while. It was only Amazon, but now there's smaller niche retail places are starting to stock toys. And of course, you've got, places that are putting in toy sections, so, we'll see. It should be a strong retail season, but we're having tremendous slowdown in home sales, and that's concerning. That's going to trickle down very quickly to retail. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think kind of wrapping up the EPCA part of it, one of my favorite parts, obviously we had a couple meetings and dinner with our friends with Evonik, which was great. We got, they presented a nice little award for celebrating 25 years doing business together, which was cool. Yeah, we'll put the picture with Robb, right here, and
right, yeah, that was in front of one of our mutual customers, which was kind of cool too. Yeah. But yeah, they've got a big plexiglass, division, and so it's made of plexiglass, and it has a molecule of in there of DIMP, which is probably the biggest transactionary item that we do together. And they presented that at EPCA, and had to put it in my carry-on because it was so heavy. But that was a really nice gesture, and we'll have to return the gesture at some point when we get a chance to all celebrate together. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that they presented it to you because you had to carry it home. I'm like, I
it was heavy. But I took good care of it, on the way home, and it made it in one piece. So they're very, very nice. It's nice to be appreciated after doing 25 years of business together. So so shout out to all the people that helped develop that business starting back in the late 90s. So been a great success for both of our companies. Yeah,
and really showcases the importance of relationships in the industry. I mean, some of the folks that were at that dinner were, from day one when we started doing business together, when it was you and Nick and, the team over there. And it was cool to see, the relationships that you've built and that have been built and the strong business we've done together. And, we may be a B2B type of business, but it's all driven by people and relationships. And sure, along the ways, technology improves things and makes communication easier and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's all driven by people. And it was really cool to showcase that.
Yeah, well said, Ben. It's a relationship business still to this day, even though, private equity and cost cutting and M&A seems to really want to beat that down to nothing. It really, the best successes in the 25 plus years I've been in this business have been because of true relationships, bonding, and the, success comes from that more than anything. And we've had great European partners and American partners where we've been able to, create those relationships, build trust, and go from there. And those are always our best successes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it was a fun week. It
really was. Really good. And we both got to enjoy the front and back end. Well, I got the front and back end, you got the back end a little bit on the Amalfi Coast. So it's always nice to see different places in Europe. And I got to go to Paris a couple days, which was nice.
Did you come back with bed bugs or you left the bed bugs?
No.
I'm watching these things as you're over there. I'm like, oh man, that ain't good.
I saw that and I was like, oh man, I'm just going to keep scrolling.
I didn't see any bed bugs, thank God. I have in my lifetime, Colombia, Costa Rica, places, Mexico, I've come across them, but not in France that time, so
good.
Got lucky.
Well, speaking of travel, you've been running around a little bit as well.
Yes.
And have some travel planned.
Of course.
I know you're with some of your Latin American colleagues last week, or we both were for that matter. So
yes, we were there. It's a mixed things, but everyone's very hopeful for 2024. We think that the stocking is over, so people should order back up again. Not at the volumes we're used to, but still decent volumes. So still good things to be done south of the border.
Yeah. It seems like everyone agrees. Stuff's been slow and business is off and all that good stuff. But everyone was very positive, upbeat about it. As positive as you can be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and you have to get out there and see customers, suppliers, and do the rounds. You got to see the market. I said it last time. You got to see the market.
Yes, you do. We haven't done anything with that campain, but we gotta.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Work on that.
It's been a hot saying around the office, though. Everyone says, "See the market," as quoted by Javier.
Yeah.
It.
So things should be looking up for our region, which is Mexico and down for 2024.
And you've got some upcoming travel as well.
Yes.
It's funny. APLA always feels like this thing that's like, oh, it's at the end of the year. It's so far away. And then
it's here.
We were talking last week. It was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm leaving in 2 weeks or whatever it is. It's crazy that it's comes up.
The schedule is filling up.
But what's coming up a couple weeks?
Yeah, so we'll be in Colombia for...
No, Brazil.
No. Oh, you're going there first. We're in Colombia for a few business.
I was like, no.
That's not where APLA is.
No, the APLA is in Sao Paulo. The APLA is in Sao Paulo, and it's from the 11th to the 14th. So we'll be there, and schedule's filling up, and everyone's reaching out for meetings, and opportunities should be coming up.
Usually a pretty well attended thing. You think that Brazil's a good location to get to?
Because most of the people are from Brazil, so it should be a good attendance.
Yeah.
And between you, AJ, and Corey Mullins that are attending, which of you three is going to be doing the 5K run, the 5K fun run.
There's a 5K?
There is.
There's a 5K.
Yes,
yeah,
I
they
got
do
the-
sports. They do
There's one
different
of those
things.
things where like you drink, you run a mile and then they give you a beer.
Yeah.
And you run another mile and they give you a beer.
Well, I sent it over to them and I said, hey, I'll let you three figure out who,
No.
This isn't Michigan or Wisconsin. This is,
Yeah.
they get serious about that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soccer. I think we used to have a soccer tournament.
As part of the APLA?
As part of the APLA, and it got rowdy, and they canceled it. It got rowdy because
didn't know that.
people were like playing like very serious. I mean, we're serious about soccer, but like people were taking it to the next level, and there were like almost fights broke the soccer. So so APLA decided soccer's over. No more soccer.
just a nice 5K fun
I
run.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and then they switched to tennis, and then there's this guy from Argentina it's almost a pro player. So I mean, so he won every year. I mean, it was not even it was not even fun to
You
play.
can play lefty or something.
Yeah. So they canceled that, and now they're sticking the last years to runs.
Okay.
Or either that or cleaning or doing something green, like cleaning the beach or stuff like that. But in Sao Paulo, there's no beach, so we stick with the run.
Yeah.
And I won't be participating. Of
No.
course, no.
I heard your schedule is wide open from like 8 a.m. to noon.
Yes.
You got no meeting scheduled there?
No, but it's filling up. We started a couple weeks ago, and it's getting up there.
Good.
Yeah, I hear your WhatsApp dinging in the background throughout the day. Like,
WhatsApp, yes, everything's from WhatsApp. So it's an email, and then you coordinate through WhatsApp, and then you just send a confirmation email instead of 10 emails back and forth.
yep.
Are you able for APLA? I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So side text.
What time?
What time? This time. I'm available. Okay, boom, confirm.
Very efficient.
Very
I like
efficient. It is instead of like 20 emails back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
Peak efficiency. Well, that'd be a good trip. Could
Yeah.
was it like a week more or less? A little
so,
more.
Yeah. A week, a little bit like 9 days.
Yeah.
Together.
Nice. So thinking about mid-October, it was interesting. I was talking we did the Kathy Hall episode last week, which if you haven't listened to that, I would go back and listen to that. Always a good quarterly episode. But we had talked prior about obviously hurricane season coming up, and then we talked last week, and really was a pretty quiet hurricane season. I mean, I feel like we've had most years where there's at least one storm that has some sort of major outage or something happens. I feel like it was kind of just kind of came and gone this year, which isn't a bad thing. Nice to have a maybe mild year with outages specific to industry, but seems like it came and went and wasn't really a whole lot of activity.
Is it over?
I was just going to ask that.
There's still a hurricane down there, but
Is there one now?
yeah, there's one that's kind of like,
Brewing.
north of Columbia right
Yeah.
now, sort of a little bit too far south, but I don't think it's over yet, Benny, you know, so I would be careful about that,
Knock on wood.
it is, it's I don't know if it's La Nina or El Nino or La Nina year, but they're usually not so bad.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, I guess,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, they're
Maybe up to this point, at least, it's been pretty quiet, which is
right.
welcome news.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some storms and swell up here. Not doing any damage, but there's been some surf at least.
That's just normal though.
Yeah.
They just hype it up so much now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they get a headline, they run with it and hype it up so much. So, you got to be careful with how much attention you pay to it.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've started to see kind of Q3 earnings reports from people, and it seems like over the last week, as they've been coming out, every headline, it seems like says, things are kind of better than expected, which I thought was interesting. I mean, bank stocks are obviously doing well with interest rates, so that's not necessarily surprising, but consumer spending still doing well. You were talking earlier about, spending season and Christmas season and Amazon season, all that good stuff. It seems like the general consensus is people are used to kind of these higher interest rates and are still spending money. I mean, it's kind of been interesting. I feel like everyone's been waiting for, you talk about recessions and things like that, and you wait for stuff to slow down, but reports come out and, the data is right there showing that people are still earning money, making money. I mean, part of that may be some layoffs and things along those lines that we've seen over the last couple of months, but it's been interesting to see a lot of the news kind of better than expected.
Yeah. I mean, in America, we're spending money. They do, when we went to EPCA, they were certainly talking about things being tight. I think the big news at EPCA was the layoffs by BASF.
Yep.
I think they laid off 500 people in Germany and
had almost nobody there, right? There's very little.
Oh my God, there was such a lack of attendance from really big companies, like really big companies had just a few people in attendance, and BASF specifically I think they laid off 500 in Germany, and it was 55 plus. I don't know if this is fact or not, but this is what we were all conversating about. And that's just such a massive amount of knowledge base that, you know, to say, oh, well, if you're 55 or older, Jesus, that's really the core of your knowledge base there. So I would say I'm nervous at this point because things aren't really improving quickly enough based on the federal government's, you know, a quantitative easing through their, you know, their interest rates. It could be a drop in interest rates, maybe to boost things a little bit at some point, maybe go the other way. I doubt it, but yeah, money's running out for people. Things are still really expensive here in the U.S. Food prices are still really high. I mean, crazy high. I noticed when I was at EPCA that wasn't much difference over there. You know, food prices are really high over there. Fuel, you know, we've got 89 Brent, 87-ish, you know, for WTI. Even gas has come up. We've seen benzene come up. You know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but, you know, October's usually a game changer. November starts an election cycle, 1 year till we have the presidential, a lot of different elections, but, you know, obviously a very divisive election as it stands right now with two divisive, you know, opponents, you know, so a lot going on, you know, a lot going on. We still have not seen a recovery in what they call New Asia. So that'd be, you know, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, etc. China, still no recovery. Europe, mundane recovery. Good buying time for equities, or not even equities, but maybe, you know, funds that are foreign funds, because it's cheap. Things are really cheap. Things are looking pretty bad in also in Latin America. I mean, we've seen our own demand down there come down quite a bit, you know, and so I think, you know, September, October may hopefully be the bottom, you know, and then everybody was really talking about a little bit of a recovery at EPCA, and we've seen a little bit of that September to October on a micro level. Definitely better in October, but October is usually one of our strongest months, and it's stronger than September, but not tremendously stronger. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things flying around right now. You know, the Israel Hamas thing, the, you know, Ukraine, Russia's on a counteroffensive. A lot going on. Yeah,
that was I don't know if you got asked, but I know, I think at least 2 or 3 people last week asked me that about the presidential election. Like, oh, what do you think's going to happen? And it's amazing how many eyeballs there are on us and what we do and the elections and things like that, because it plays such a worldwide role. It was interesting. I didn't really know how to answer it. You know, I'm not a exceedingly political person, so I just kind of gave my 2 cents. But it's like, I mean, some of these guys knew more about it than I did. And you know,
people follow that closely. People do follow the U.S. election very closely, because it's going to have consequences to everybody.
Yeah, very much so.
But especially if you're close as Mexico to, and everything, all the transactional amounts between both countries. Definitely going to have an effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been quite a migrant crisis on the border recently as well, you know, with the tremendous amount of Venezuelans trying to make their way through U.S.-Mexico border, you know, so yeah, there's a lot of attention paid to that. I mean, it's amazing to see in the last, you know, couple generations of presidents how much impact they really do have. You know, you think that they're probably, you know, tempered by Congress and Senate and, you know, and then statutory level and all that, but no, they really they figured out ways to have a direct impact against each other, you know.
So you look at the 25% China tariffs we still have. I mean, Trump just decided one day that these are going to be there, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's going to get redacted or whatever, and they're still here. You know, they haven't got, so it's
and that was actually a big talking point. And again, back to EPCA, was that they don't have any of those protections. I mean, they're
flooded with Chinese products,
and one of the biggest sort of obvious thing was Chinese cars. Chinese cars are everywhere there, you know, so electric cars, non-electric cars, just flooding in there. And they've got, I don't know, 27 or 30 voices that they need to get in alignment to make a decision. It's very difficult to do that. So there is no protection from that China flood of goods. And so at least we have the 25%, but the deflation that's happened in China means that we're still buying from China. Despite a 25% plus duty plus shipping upcharge, crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. One other thing being mid-October, we'll start thinking about the end of the year. Obviously a lot of companies run on the calendar year, and we've already seen kind of internal battles with customers on, pricing versus production and inventory levels and things like that. So it seems like with this calendar year being a little bit slower, or maybe a lot of it slower for a lot of folks, there'll be a big focus on end of year inventories and keeping inventory levels lower than normal, which is always interesting for December. And then, like you always say, come first or second week of January, everyone needs everything because they've kept their inventory so low.
Right.
So now it's kind of the time I think a lot of folks start looking at that and planning for that. And I think it'd be an interesting December and January to see what comes with that.
Could be. I mean, we're already starting to see, fire sales on things, but there's a lot of, alternatively, there's a lot of things that are being pressured cost-wise.
Yep. So
we've started to see a little bit of pre-buying at the end of the months on certain products to get ahead of the price increases. So there may be that. I think that inventories are already low in general. People are going back to just in time or winning business because we can deliver in a short period of time. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of available inventory at the end of the year to make deals on. But I do expect, at some point that we've got to see demand pick up worldwide. And hopefully that'll be in Q1 of 2024. That's my next hope.
Yep.
I doubt it's going to be Q4 of 2023 at this point, but Q1 of 2024, I'm hopeful.
And I keep coming back to the time of year, but obviously it's coming into winter time, coming to some of the colder months. We've seen some interesting things on fuel prices, both I think at the pump and with freight rates. We've seen some lanes increasing a bit. We've seen some lanes getting a little bit better in terms of price. You get kind of the availability switches with coming in and out of New England. Maybe we're more aware of it than others because we're obviously based up here, but you see, maybe less truckers want to come up here as the weather starts to get crappy. I was just looking, I think it was 3 years ago, we got a snowstorm on October 25th. So could start snowing any day here for all we know, which is crazy to think about.
We usually get a random storm in October that, blows out a bunch of snow.
And then nothing until, January, February.
Exactly.
Yeah. But keeping a close eye on that as well. It's a good time to double check freight rates. We've seen some things increase more than I thought they would, and we've also seen some lanes drop by 40% unexpectedly.
Yeah, the truckers want to go south, so they want to move their equipment south. So there's some savings there. Alternatively, coming to the north is more expensive.
Yeah, very much so. Well, speaking of freight, obviously we can transition right into a conversation we had with one of our good friends and partners, Leschaco, on the freight side. We had Cherie up here last week, 2 weeks ago now, which is
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Good to have her up here. She's very energetic and has some interesting stories both on the work front and with her mayoral campaign against Mike Tyson.
Yep.
So a good segment. Rob's looking at us like we're crazy right now. But we'll pivot over to the Leschaco section. Good morning, Cherie. How you doing?
I am good, Ben. How are you?
Doing very well. It's nice to have you here in beautiful Jamestown, Rhode Island.
It is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. This is your first time in Rhode Island?
Yes, ever. So it's definitely different. I may not go back home. So,
that's all right. That's all right.
I'll be around.
We'd be happy to have you. So I know we've been talking about having you on a podcast episode here for a while, so I'm glad we finally made it happen. So why don't you introduce both yourself and the company for anyone that may not be familiar with you guys, and we'll kick it off there.
Perfect. I am Cherie Kaufman, as we all know. I am National Account Manager for Leschaco. I handle the ISO tank division. I have been with the company for a year and a half now. I came over from Sutton's in the industry.
I didn't realize you were that new to the company.
Yes, I know. It doesn't seem like it because everybody knows me from Leschaco, so it seems like I've been here forever.
So we must have met when you had just started.
Yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, it was. I think it was probably my very first event that I went to. So it was I just kind of went into the role, and it was just Cherie Leschaco. So it's when you know Leschaco, you know Cherie.
Yep.
So been here for about the year and a half. Love the role, love the company. Leschaco was started actually in 1879 in Bremen, Germany. They are family owned and privately owned still. We do full logistics. So we'll be import, export, ocean. We do air freight, FCL, LCL. And then, of course, ISO tanks is my specialty.
Sure.
And we have tank competence in APAC, Americas, and your Middle East, Europe areas. And as far as happenings, we have the market's probably not going to change much for us. We've noticed that steamship lines seem to be adding blank sailings and maintenance for vessels to keep the rates from dropping because of the way everybody is keeping their inventory that they had. So in the past, everybody kind of just overstocked.
Sure.
They're ordering extra and we're moving. And now we just have too much.
Yep.
So now they're just shipping them out per order.
So specific to the company, what do you guys actually what are your assets? Do you own the ISOs you're moving? Do you own the vessels? How deep does it go?
No, we actually do lease them.
Okay.
We'll do that through Exceef.
Okay.
So we that's just how it is. We'll do shipper owned tanks. So it's like if we have a shipper owned and we want to do it, there's a chance, we can probably have it made and be able to use that for the back and forth of those shipper owns.
Sure.
Otherwise, we do lease them, but we do have over 5,000 tanks in the fleet.
Okay.
For that. They are current, up to date. We have them regularly tested.
That's just ISOs, 5,000 ISOs.
That is just ISOs. Okay. Yes. So, of course, my specialty is that. Yeah. So I could tell you anything about that part of the company. I can give you bits and pieces of everything else.
And is it mostly chemicals? Do you guys do food stuff? Do you do
chemical? It is mostly chemicals. Yeah. Food grade, we can probably do a special request on that. Yeah. It would just take some time to put that together because we want to make sure that your product is safe, especially if it's something that's going to be consumed.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of employees. I didn't realize
3,000 globally.
Crazy.
I know. That's what I say. I'm just like, dang, I thought I was the only one. Yeah. But
And I assume most of those would be folks kind of in the logistics side of it, like actually getting from ISOs from point A to point B. I mean,
it's actually, the sales size is definitely a little bit smaller. So as a whole, it's just like everybody combined. Within our Houston office, we have, for tank sales, we have myself and Greg Kreider. And then we have for our freight forwarding and, our air freights and things like that, we have Christelle and Kevin Sexton and Vanessa Mendoza.
Okay.
So we do have not as many sales as we do like the rest of the operations, which of course, without the rest of the operations, though, we wouldn't be who we were.
Right.
So we definitely need them. So it's better that we have more of them than more of us.
But you're not going to see a Leschaco shirt on a truck driver. Like you guys, it doesn't go that far down.
No. Sure. It does not. But we have been working with Boasso for about 100 years now. literally 100 years. So we've been, that's who our go-to is. So we have a really great relationship with them. So, we make sure it's kind of like we're just partners.
Yeah.
So, we have no worries or issues with any trucking. I mean, things are.
All of a sudden, our 35th anniversary this year doesn't seem so. It seems so exciting when a company was started with an 18 in the beginning.
I know. And
crazy.
So we've only been in the U.S. since 1978.
Okay.
So we actually was one of the first MVOCCs here.
Okay.
So so I'm 45. So, and I just turned 45. So it's actually as long as I've been here, that we've been in the U.S.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, so obviously being there for a year and a half, I'm sure you stepped into quite the crazy market. So I've been doing this 7 or 8 years now, and I've seen cycles that, people say, people have been doing this 40 years, say, the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years are the craziest cycle that we've ever seen. I'm like, that's all I know. That's all I've ever seen. So obviously, going back a year and a half ago is 2021-ish. And, obviously still in the middle of COVID. Business is crazy, at least from our side. People are trying to get everything everywhere. There's demand for everything. People aren't traveling, so they're buying things and cars and upgrades to their house and you name it. So obviously you stepped into quite the crazy market when you started.
I was already in it. So I just actually came from another carrier. So I was able to be inside the whole COVID hitting and, getting rates from vendors for $300 to go to Asia, for an empty tank, to it turning into $3,500 or $35,000.
And $3,500 was good at one point.
I'm just like, when did this happen? So coming into Leschaco, we kind of, they were still kind of just getting everything back together. They did their struggle. They ended up, they did have their cyber attack. So that kind of slowed up things during that time as well. Yep. So they were still picking up pieces from that. Whenever I came in, operations was out of sort. Sales was, out of sort. There was really, you had your people still coming back from that. It was just a year after COVID had hit. Sure. Yeah. So everybody was still just discombobulated. So it was a lot going on. So I came in, and of course you're just like, oh, what did I come into? Yeah, right. It just worked itself out. I started go into my meetings. I started seeing what the customers were needing. I started asking questions within the meetings, like what needs to change? What has changed from the time that, you've been dealing with us? What can I do to help you? Seemed to just roll with it and kind of took those things back to, my counterparts and my managers at Leschaco, who listened to every word I said and was really supportive. And we just made it happen. Operations is fantastic now. We have the communication going. It's definitely a huge difference, even from that year and a half. Sure. From coming, it's like it's a total different company. Yep. It's like you have just wonderful people. Just we finally have it to where we have those people that need to be in those positions. Right. So yeah, it's nice. And one of my favorite things, and a big reason I kind of switched over from more of the marketing stuff to the sales side of things, it's very much a people industry. You go out. It hasn't taken the same track as, and it's maybe starting to go that way, but it's not dominated by computers and portals and impersonal things. It's very much a personable industry. We go to trade shows and cocktail parties, and it's who you like to do business with. And if you haven't been able to tell in the last 14 minutes, you're very much a people person, which I'm sure makes things easy. And it's great. It's always nice, talking to people, and it's easy to have a conversation with someone, because especially in the logistics world, maybe it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but you make it exciting. You build a relationship there, and you have to. Yeah. It's all about building relationships. That's what I love about my job. It's building relationships with anybody. I don't care if you don't have anything to offer me at the time. You may have a friend that has something to offer to me. Sure. So, it is. And just, I love this part of it. Sales is what I was meant to do. Yep. So, it's fun. And then, of course, the mingling and the cocktail parties and the things like that is just a bonus. I enjoy it. Yep. And of course, I like dressing up. So. Oh, I know. If you're looking in the camera, I don't know. We get like the full pano here, but never not colorful. I'm always bright, always bright. Yep. So like that's what I do. I like it. So obviously we're sort of past the COVID period. What are the kind of trends been this year for you on the, managing existing customers and trying to get new customers? What have been the big things for you this year on the, sales side and prospecting side and dealing with existing customers? What are people saying? What are some of the issues? And with our existing customers, it's definitely been just the overstock of product. Yep. It's, they were consistent, whenever they made their bids, and, we do our, our matrices and our tenders and things like that. They made this large, like, this is what I need. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I need you to quote me on, which turned into, I'm so sorry. This is, I can't even fulfill this order anymore, or I can't continue to do this. I have to slow down on things. So there's a lot of that, a lot of just, they had high hopes. And then it just kind of just let them down. So they're hoping for Q1 to kind of pop off and get back to a steady roll with everything. As far as any issues, just really none other than just the overstock of products. So, and then of course, they complement, the customer service and the operations and everything, how it's been running smoothly. Sure. Since we've kind of just gotten everything taken care of. That's really all I can think of. There's really not a lot of issues. Prospecting is definitely more a struggle. Yeah. As far as right now, not that I'm able to, but it's just it's a lot of people, they'll want to see you, but then there's really nothing that they can do for you at the time. But they're willing to see me. I guess I just have that personality where it's like, I'm gonna go ahead and I want you to come in, and then it might not be until like a month or two that I hear from them again, for a request, which is fine. I'm willing to work with that. Like I said, it's building relationships. So I continue to check in on them and see what they need, what they want, how they are. You want to go eat lunch. Yeah. It's going to be okay. Yeah, it's the biggest thing I've learned. We got a lot of guys on our sales team that have been doing this either with TCC or with other companies for a long, long time. And
everyone obviously has the same kind of feedback that everything's cyclical, and sure, you went from a time where there weren't enough ships on the water to move everything to now there's quite too many, but it may not ever go back to that kind of crazy COVID period where the demand just rose like never seen before, but things are going to turn around. People are going to have to produce again. Interest rates are going to come down. People will be buying stuff, and inevitably it's going to go back. So it just goes back to building relationships. And when that happens, you want to be.
I want to be right there.
Phone call.
I want to be that first phone call. I want to be that first text. So that's my goal in my sales. That's just like my strategy. It's just like, if I can't use you right now, it doesn't mean I'm going to let you go.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I'm going to stop checking in on you and making sure, you don't need something from me that I can do for you. So definitely want to be that first call always.
And so what are you telling people about either the end of this year or kind of going into early next year? What are some of the things you guys are starting to talk about, plan for, forecast? What are some of the hot things that are kind of in the
right now
pipeline?
we have plenty of tanks. We have it; they're readily available. So that's looking good for us going in to all the major ports. So we're having no issues with that. The pricing, unfortunately, is probably going to remain the same. There's not going to be a lot of dropping because of the steamship line issues.
Yep.
Q1, we're hoping to see just a little bit of change, but it's probably not going to be much, especially in Q1. Maybe Q2, Q3, 2024 might pop off something. But as far as the end of this year, going into the beginning of next year, probably not a lot of changes within, but we, again, we have a lot of tanks available. We got you, we'll be able to, we can get it on the water, and, we are in 24 countries. Yeah. So,
and you mentioned what the steamship lines are doing with pricing and their rates. That's what's kind of keeping pricing.
That is. So and that's what we try to explain to customers. There's not a lot we can do. I can go and I can negotiate with them, but if they're continuing to just add, maintenance and blank sellings on things, it's like it's causing a clog up. It's making it to where we can't run anywhere. So then our vessels can't get on any space because space is taken.
Sure.
So unfortunately, there's not a lot of control we can do with that. So we really can't drop rates, or we can't do anything like that. So we're still at the steamship lines beck and call, basically. So they still run everything. Truckers have gotten a lot better with it, so we don't really have as many issues with truckers because they need the business.
Sure.
Steamship lines, they need it too, but they still have a little trickery, going on, and it is the business. So get your money how you can.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense. Any anything else? I know one thing we like to do is we talk about things on the podcast that we kind of wish if every single customer or prospect listened to it. This is kind of the things we are thinking about. These are the things that we see, kind of the trends that are going on that we're making decisions on, and we'd recommend people also make decisions on. Are there any kind of maybe one or two big trends or geopolitical things, or what are the biggest things if you could put one message in front of every single one of your customers, like, hey, keep an eye on this?
Oh my goodness, you're trying to just get me on spot here. I don't even know.
We want the
oh my God. See, he didn't mention this, guys.
No,
this was not mentioned.
They're keeping your toes,
Okay, I'm okay with it. Dang. I don't even know. One thing.
I mean, is it what oil prices, is that driving the cost to move goods around? Is it just the general what's happening with GDP and how people are spending money? I mean, what's the big thing in the freight world that you're like, hey, you should watch, you should follow this, you should watch this?
I would definitely watch like the global trade lanes, like things going into Europe, things going into Brazil. Watch how those rates are going. Watch how steady they're remaining. Kind of just keep an eye on just the structure of how that's going. Pay attention to. I completely forgot what I was going to say, but pay attention to it, guys.
on the same thing, obviously, we still have the China tariffs.
Yes.
Has that impacted goods coming to and from Asia at all for you guys? Do you see more business, less business with Asia?
We do have a little less business within the Asia. Ours is more Latin America.
Okay.
So we have a lot of comings and goings in Latin America. We're really big in that market. So definitely less for the China. Not that we can't. Sure. We can. Yep. It's just not it won't run as smoothly going back and forth from Asia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's all I got. I don't know.
Cool.
Call me.
I mean, we can't let you go without talking about your upcoming mayoral campaign that I just learned about. Please fill me in, because as we're hearing the story, it just keeps getting better and better. And for anyone that's listening to the podcast and thinks, "Oh, I don't need to hear about this," I'm gonna skip ahead. I promise you should listen.
Okay, so guys, I am running for mayor in my town, which is Wood Branch, in the little town of Texas. So we are outside of Houston. It's a little country town. And I am running against my competitor, who is Mike Tyson. So
like the Mike Tyson. The Mike Tyson.
I mean,
not just another guy that happens to be named Mike Tyson, like the Mike Tyson.
So Mike Tyson is my my counterpart. So I'm gonna beat him. He won't beat me. Just want to put that out there. So vote for me. I'm gonna be there, and even if I lose, it's fine. It's gonna be great. But yes, Mike Tyson is him.
That's funny.
So look me up.
When did you know you want to be the mayor of your town? Is this a recent thing?
I literally walked in joking. I was making jokes about it. I said I wanted to be the mayor, and so again, it's a small town. So kind of went into the office, and I'll go take them things. I'll go and take them Christmas cards or Valentine's Day. Yeah. Like I'm just that person, and take them things. So I walked in and kind of was just like, what I got to do to be mayor around here? And they were like, okay, yeah, you should be mayor. And I was like, oh, thank you.
That's funny.
Then I found out who I was running against and got kind of nervous and wanted to come up with a campaign slogan of knock Mike Tyson out. But I was like, I don't know if that's well,
he lives in the same town?
No, he doesn't. He actually is not.
Honorary?
Yeah, it's just honorary type of thing. So right. it's.
Well, I mean, you're a true resident, so that right there.
You know
what the people need.
That's what I said. I was like, I'm better to be there anyway. Yeah. He doesn't. He's just a name on stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to be the next name on stuff.
Perfect.
So yes, it's exciting. Thank you for bringing that up, Ben. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, I'm glad we finally got you up to Rhode Island. I'm glad we finally got you on the podcast. I think it was great. We'll have you on soon, both to talk about your mayoral victory and to talk about what's happening in the freight world.
I love it. Can't wait.
It's always amazing. We talk to folks about on the freight side, and maybe 2-3 months later, like, hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden there's 7 things that are completely different. It's completely changed from the last time we caught up on freight stuff. So it's always amazing how quickly
it's always changing. I mean, I've been doing this since 2006. So it's been many, many years, and like nothing's ever been the same.
Yeah.
Nothing is the same in this industry from the time I started until now. So it's just crazy. And I think that's why I was so addicted to it. It was like, nothing's the same. Right. It changes. I'm never going to be bored ever. So it's exciting. I like it.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. It was great to see you. Great to have you on the episode. And like I said, we'll see you soon, and we'll have you on an episode again here soon.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. So yeah, Cherie is
running against Mike Tyson.
She was telling
like the Mike Tyson.
The Mike Tyson. She's telling me and George and Zach the story. Like, oh yeah, I'm running for mayor of my town. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
What town?
It's a small town outside. It's like a suburb of Houston.
Okay.
And so she's like, yeah, I'm running for mayor. Blah blah. Everyone thinks I'd be good at it and all that stuff. And we're like, okay. And she's like, yeah, I'm running against Mike Tyson. And she said it so nonchalant. And we're like, wait, can you go back to the Mike Tyson part? Like, is it the Mike Tyson? So apparently he's related to someone that lives in that town, and they elected him as like the.
He used to live there, I think, at one point. Now his family lives there, and so but he's so far removed and not involved in anything. I think the only time that people like to get citations because it's his signature, so it's like a free autograph that you still have to pay for, I guess, for the citation.
Tough competition for her.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, Ben's like, oh, did you know that? I was like, no, I had no idea. Like, So
she's using the View for her mayoral campaign. So it's a new way for some PR.
Oh man.
But no, it was a good talk with her. It was really, really interesting to see what they're seeing on a much more kind of macro global level with moving freight all over the world and plans for next year, and how much, how many lanes they're contracting and how many ISOs they're keeping. And it's interesting for sure. We talked a little bit about kind of price updates and oil and all that good stuff. Since the last time we recorded, oil's come off a bit. Oil's down about 50 cents to $1. U.S. nat gas increased about 50 cents, which is 20-ish% or something like that.
Right.
So kind of a mixed bag, like with gas going up, benzine's gone up, benzine's gone up a good bit over the last month.
Propylene's
60, 70 cents. Propylene went back up. So a mix of things happening on the raw material side.
Definitely. Yeah, it was probably the biggest move was natural gas. We haven't seen that. That's been steady Eddie, 250 MMBTU for quite some time.
Yep.
Now up to $3, $3 and change. So And also, to see propylene reverse course and start moving up. I think it went up a penny and then 4.5 was it for September. So so there's definitely some movement there, and oil was as high as 96, 97 at one point. That was getting, we were almost about to touch 100 and it dropped right back. And now it's, hovering in the high 80s, WTI and Brent.
Yep. Seems like that's kind of the, I don't know if you want to call it like the comfortable range that it's been in. It seems like 80 to 90 is kind of like.
It's expensive, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's high, but we predicted this. We said that Q4, we were going to see it. Russia's cut back, all the petroleum producing countries have sort of cut back in tandem. And then Exxon buying into the fracking, that's a huge move. And, it says a lot about our energy independence here, so there's a lot of moves in energy right now.
Yeah, very much so. I think one of the interesting things about doing the podcast monthly like we do it is you kind of like bookmark events. And I think one of those events was, we must have been virtual when we were doing it, but we must have had at least 1 or 2 episodes where oil was like $0 or it was negative dollars.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about that with Kathy because she was talking about what oil was doing, and we're like, there's a time when it was, oil was $0.
Yeah.
And we'll have to go back and find which episode that was. But
it was March of 2021, I think, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
March, April. Right when COVID hit, good time to buy, but you didn't know what was going to happen at that point.
Yeah,
so.
If you bought a tanker of oil sitting off the coast for $1 a barrel, and you're looking pretty good right about now.
Oh yeah. I mean, that'd be a lot of demurrage.
Oh yeah. That's a bad chemical.
Yeah, you might
joke.
break even on the demurrage.
Whoever thought that you'd be making a joke about demurrage one day?
Yep.
And we'd all laugh about it.
So I think all we really have wrapping things up. We're kind of back to travel season. Obviously, we've all been flying around both to trade shows and events, and just getting out, seeing customers and contacts. It's been a good couple weeks, busy couple weeks, and last month or two. Obviously, some travel coming up for the fall. We'll be at the CAMX later this month with our composites folks. The World Compounding Expo in Cleveland. Obviously, we mentioned APLA, which is coming up, which is cool. The Vinyl Compounders Conference at the end of the year in December in Austin, Texas. And then before you know it, we're still talking about 2024 with our favorites with the AFPM and obviously Coating Show and NPE next year. Busy 2024.
It is just boom, 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 one after the other. But it's great because, it really, I think, emphasizes the building relationships, staying on top of that, meetings, and, just getting out there. And we have, a nice, robust attendance, I think, and presence at all of these. So, no short of being able to meet with us, that's for sure.
A lot going on.
Yeah, it feels like good timing for things like the Coating Show and NPE. Like, we're fully out of the COVID period. Business hopefully starting to pick back up by the end of Q1 of next year. And, having the AFPM Coating Show and NPE all so close to each other, I think it'll be an interesting time for it to just kind of reconnect with customers and suppliers and see where things are at and what the forecast is for the rest of the year. You'll have a kind of full quarter of the year under your belt and see what the forecast is for the remainder of the year. I think it'll be interesting timing for them all, I think. Well, any final news, thoughts, questions, concerns, wrapping things up? What are you going to be for Halloween, Javi?
I don't know.
Dude, you just gave me a smirk. But come on.
I don't know yet because my son wants me to be a garbage truck because he's going to be in a fire truck. And he's like, what do you want? I was like, what do you want me to be? Garbage truck. I'm like,
aren't you glad you asked?
Yes. I don't know.
What is a fire truck that he's going to be like?
There's a thing that you buy. It's a couple of blocks and they put in
like suspenders, right?
Yeah,
yep,
suspenders.
You've got suspenders. They clip on.
So not just a firefighter. He's going to be the whole truck.
Yeah, he wants to be the truck. Huh. Yeah, he'll be a truck. So Halloween, and that's Rob's favorite season.
Yes.
Favorite holiday, by the way.
I love it.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
I usually just put something scary on, like a bold fake fur coat and a scary mask and scary gloves, and I dress up my little dog and we, walk around and scare people. It's just it's a wonderful, it's a holiday that you celebrate all in a couple hours. Yeah. So that's what I love about it. It's not too extended. I love the decorations and and Nicole's earrings. She's got
I've got some skeletons. They look headless right now. But
can we zoom in on those bad boys? I don't know what camera we're looking at here.
I know. I don't know what one either, but maybe we'll have a snapshot of those.
It's big in Mexico too.
Isn't it the Day of the Dead?
Dia de los Muertos. Yes.
Yes. And I love when I go to Mexico City in Mexico, you see the skulls and everything. I'm like, I don't know why. It's just it's a reminder of life, and living life to the fullest, I think, is more than anything, and the spirits are alive, on Halloween. You go outside and listen, and the kids and, everything's alive. It's a changing of the season. So that's why I love it so much.
When you live in such a good area and Jamestown's such a good area for it, don't they do that parade with the kids? And
oh my God.
Isn't there a foam party?
So
and
many. It got Facebook's #1 destination to go trick-or-treating. So
really?
Wow.
Literally they have a parade, and the parade route ends and they turn and go up my street. And it's we literally we need thousands and thousands of pieces of candy, and the whole neighborhood gets support from the rest of the neighborhoods, because it's a very concentrated area that everybody goes through. And so I think that's one of the things that's sort of negative about Halloween now is people go, they don't necessarily go to their own community and celebrate it. They go somewhere. It's sort of meant to be more spread out, I think, even though we've got a very spooky street and it's a great, it's a great vibe, but it's not the only vibe, so.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Halloween and scary things and curses, we broke the boy curse.
Oh my God. This is insane. This is insane. Well, good luck to Josh Savory, of all the employees forever that TCC's existed, we've only had boys. And Josh Savory at the logistics company just found out he's having a girl. So until I see it physically, I know the science is good, but
There have been times where they go, oh.
Yeah, we didn't see that.
That would so far emphasize the fact that there actually is a curse.
Oh my God, if that happened, man, that would be it. It would be all over.
Oh my gosh.
That was crazy news, though, yeah.
And it's funny because he just did the math of the odds of
the
same thing happening 16 times in a row is 0.0001%. He just did it a month or two ago. So
he was the one that did the math. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that's funny.
But very exciting for him and Gwen, and excited for him.
Yeah. Now there's hope that you could have a girl someday, Benny.
Maybe.
Ben's like, oh man, now it's time to wrap this up.
Romantic time in the Amalfi Coast, huh?
Yeah, plead the fifth. It's funny because my mom not so secretly, would like a granddaughter at some point. So she's like, hey, if this curse continues,
in that family.
You may need to reconsider if this curse is a thing, you may need to reconsider for a couple months, when you're having kids, because I want a granddaughter. I'm like, okay, Mom, I get it. Thank you.
That's fine. I remember she even enlisted in my house. She was like, hey, so if you have another, and I'm like, no, we're done it too. And she's like, but, and I'm like, well, Ben, there you go. Passing the Josh Savory can pass the torch over.
Exactly. Well, it was a good episode. A lot going on. It's always good, I think, debriefing after things like the EPCA and the AFPM is always a good kind of consensus and mood on what's happening globally with our contact customers and suppliers and business partners and logistics folks, and always a lot to talk about, a lot going on with getting back from stuff like that. So was a good episode. We'll look forward to your APLA debrief.
Yes. I'll be back that 15th. I'll be here. So right in time for the podcast.
16th, 9 a.m.
About 9 a.m. Or 11.
Well, as always, we appreciate your guys' time. Good episode, good chat, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you, Ben.
Absolutely. Thanks, Benny.
The material contained on this podcast is provided by the chemical company solely for informational purposes. The information is not guaranteed to be correct, complete, or up to date. The information in the podcast is intended solely as a general education aid. TCC is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of TCC policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement endorsement, or recommendation by TCC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by TCC employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of TCC or any of its officials. All statements, comments, and opinions presented are made in the context of robust dialogue and freedom of expression. TCC assumes no responsibility for any consequence relating directly or indirectly to any action or inaction taken based on the information in this podcast. While TCC strives to keep the information in the podcast accurate, complete, and up to date, we cannot guarantee and will not be responsible for any damage or loss related to the accuracy, completeness, or timeliness of the information. TCC assumes no liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained on the podcast is provided entirely on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.